For decades, the financial industry has sold you a beautiful, convenient lie that $1 million is the magic number, the golden ticket to a paradise of golf courses and endless margaritas. But here is the brutal reality check they left out of the brochure. Thanks to the relentless erosion of inflation and skyrocketing medical costs, the purchasing power of $1 million in 2024 is roughly equivalent to just $315,000 in 1980. Let that sink in. You are not aggressively saving to live like a king. You are scraping pennies together just to avoid starving to death in a climate-controlled nursing home. And that famous 4% withdrawal rule that every financial advisor worships? Dead, completely obsolete. It is called sequence of returns risk. And if you are unlucky enough to retire during a recession, following that rule ensures you will go broke by age 75. The numbers do not lie, but they are terrifying. According to Charles Schwab, most Americans believe they need $1.8 million to survive retirement. Yet Vanguard data shows the average 401k balance is sitting at a pathetic $112,000. That's not just a savings gap. That is a mathematical crater that is about to swallow an entire generation whole. Imagine retirement is a fancy dinner. Back in the golden age of pensions, also known as defined benefit plans, it was like going out to eat with your rich parents. You worked hard, you ordered the steak, and at the end of the night, the company picked up the entire tab, paying you a guaranteed check every month until you died. They took all the risk. But then they invented the 401k, or defined contribution plans. This is the equivalent of your dad meeting you at the restaurant door, handing you a single crumpled $20 bill and saying, "Good luck, kid. I really hope a burger does not cost $50 by the time you finish eating." And then he sprints to his helicopter and leaves you stranded. They sold this shift to us as empowerment. They told you it was about taking control of your financial destiny. But let's call it what it actually is: liability dumping. See, promising to pay for your survival for decades is a massive long-term liability on a balance sheet. But throwing a tiny match into your account today is just a cheap one-time expense. They did not give you freedom, they just stuck you with the bill. Now we have to ask the most important question in economics: cui bono? Who benefits? Why did Wall Street spend millions lobbying to kill pensions and force everyone into the casino of the 401k? It's not because they care about your golden years. It's because they discovered the most profitable business model in human history: the fee on assets under management. See, in the old system, if the pension fund performed poorly, the company had to make up the difference. But in the 401k system, Wall Street gets paid a percentage of your money whether the market goes up, down, or sideways. They have zero skin in the game, but they take a slice of the pie every single year. And they are masters at hiding these slices. You look at your statement and see an expense ratio of 1% or maybe 2%, and you think, well, that's nothing. I can afford to lose 1 penny out of every dollar. That's exactly what they want you to think. That is the optical illusion that built the skyscrapers in Manhattan. Because when you run the math over a 40-year career, that harmless little 2% fee is actually a financial death sentence. It's not just 2% of your gains, it's 2% of your entire nest egg removed every single year, destroying the magic of compound interest. Let's look at the brutal mathematics. If the market returns 7% and you're paying 2% in fees, you're not keeping 5%. You're losing the compound growth on that 2% forever. Over a lifetime of investing, a 2% fee does not reduce your final account balance by 2%. It reduces it by nearly 40%. You take 100% of the risk, you put up 100% of the capital, and Wall Street takes 40% of the harvest just for opening the date. And it gets worse. They bury things called 12b-1 fees inside your funds, which are literally marketing fees, meaning you're paying them to advertise their own bad products to other people. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a documented wealth transfer. According to a policy brief by Demos, a typical middle-class American household will lose approximately $155,000 to these 401k fees over their working lifetime. That's $155,000 that should have been in your pocket for medicine, for food, or for your grandchildren. But instead, it was siphoned off to pay for bonuses at BlackRock and Vanguard. The system is designed to bleed you slowly enough that you don't notice you're dying until it's too late.
We tend to assume that the financial bedrock of our nation was designed on purpose, that some council of wise economists sat down and architected a system to keep the American workers safe. That is a comforting fairy tale. The reality is that the 401k is a legislative accident, a bureaucratic hiccup that spiraled out of control. It all started in 1978 with the Revenue Act. Congress was not trying to revolutionize retirement, they were just passing a boring tax bill. Buried deep inside the text was a tiny section, Section 401k. It was not designed for the average worker. It was essentially a tax loophole, a little perk written specifically so that wealthy executives could defer taxes on their Christmas bonuses. That is the foundation of your entire financial future, a tax dodge for rich people's holiday money. But then, corporate America had a light bulb moment. They realized they could weaponize this loophole. They saw a way to stop paying for expensive pensions where the company held all the risk and shift that burden entirely onto the shoulders of their employees. It was the ultimate rug pull, marketed as freedom. And you do not have to take my word for it. You can ask the man who actually built the first 401k savings plan, Ted Benna. He is known as the father of the 401k, but he does not talk like a proud parent. He talks like Dr. Frankenstein. He has publicly admitted, "I created a monster." He knows that the system is far too complex, too dangerous, and too unforgiving for the average person to manage successfully. He knows he handed a loaded gun to a population that just wanted a savings account. The result of this accident was an extinction event for financial security. In 1980, before the monster took over, 60% of private sector workers had a guaranteed pension waiting for them. It was a promise written in stone. Today, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that number has collapsed to under 4%. The pension is dead, murdered by a tax loophole, and in its place, we were given a gambling account and told good luck. And here's the darkest secret of them all, the one that makes this entire system look less like investing and more like a legally sanctioned Ponzi scheme. It is all about liquidity. Right now, we are witnessing something called Peak 65, a massive tidal wave of baby boomers retiring every single day. For the first time in decades, they are not buying stocks, they are selling them. They need cash for their medical bills and their Florida condos. But the market is a zero-sum game. For every seller, there must be a buyer. So, who is buying these trillions of dollars of stocks at historic all-time highs? You are. Every 2 weeks, when that automatic deduction disappears from your paycheck, you are not making a savvy financial decision. You are providing exit liquidity for the boomer generation. You are the fresh capital at the bottom of an inverted population pyramid, being forced to buy equities at Shiller PE ratios that are screamingly expensive just to keep the prices inflated enough for the previous generation to cash out safely. You are literally gawk buying their retirement. And here's the nightmare scenario no financial advisor will discuss with you. What if the music stops? Just look at Japan in 1989. Their market crashed and effectively went sideways for 20 years, the so-called lost decades. If that happens here, if the US market stagnates for 2 decades while you are pouring your salary into this void, the 401k generation will be left holding the bag. You are buying the top of the market, praying that in 30 years someone else will come along and buy it from you at an even higher price. But looking at the birth rates, that buyer might not even exist. Listen to me closely, because this is the only advice that actually matters. No one is coming to save you. Social Security is mathematically insolvent, and your employers cease to care about your future the moment they switched off the pension machine. You are alone in this jungle. So, here's your immediate battle plan. Do not let your financial future run on default settings. Log in to your 401k portal tonight. Find the breakdown of your investments and look for the number labeled expense ratio.
If that number is higher than 0.5%, you are being robbed in broad daylight. Switch your allocation to low-cost index funds immediately. Stop feeding the Wall Street leeches your hard-earned blood. But here's the cruelest twist of all. Even if you play this game perfectly, even if you dodge the fees, ride the market volatility, and actually save that $1 million, there is still one final boss waiting at the finish line to swallow every single cent you accumulated. It's not the taxman, and it's not a stock market crash. It's a monster that eats retirement dreams for breakfast, and it's the subject of our next investigation. We need to talk about the American healthcare system.